Hello, everybody. Welcome to the You and Your Life Are Unlimited. I love this music. So happy all of you are here today, and I am super excited because today we are talking about the law of allowing. The law of allowing is one of the most, well, let me stop sharing my screen. The law of allowing is one of the, I would say, hardest laws for most people to get, because the law of allowing is really understanding that resistance, anytime we have a thought that doesn't feel good, anytime we're having a perspective that doesn't feel good, anytime we're feeling some kind of resistance of any kind, we are not allowing. So welcome to You and Your Life Are Unlimited, where we are going to be talking about and digging into that today. The last show that we did was on the law of deliberate creation. And I just wanted to make sure that if you didn't listen to that show, just to start as an action item, writing down your desires, getting clear on what you want. And the best way to get clear on what we want is on knowing what we don't want. Now, most of us know what we don't want. We're trained in focusing on what we don't want, right? We want to start focusing on things that please us, things that you want to put on your list of things that you want to experience or do or be. Take a mental note of what you love, that you love doing this or you love doing that, and watch where your attention goes. Right? If you're saying, well, I don't want this, or you're pushing against, or you're having resistance, what's happening, and this is how all the laws play in together, when you are deliberately saying, okay, wait, I'm focused on what I don't want, I'm going to deliberately choose a different thought, a thought that feels better. We'll get to that in a little bit, but just to even focus on some questions that feel good. What do I want? Why do I want it? And how do I want to feel? Because the feeling sense is really the most powerful signal that we give off as an energy being to the universe. So when we are feeling a certain way, could be feeling negative, but we are trying to think positive, the hardest or the most intensified vibration, because remember, everything's vibration, that the most intensifiers or the strongest signal that goes out is our feelings. So we want to make sure that we're not just visualizing and not just thinking. We want to get the whole entire systems together, because thoughts create feelings and feelings create thoughts. And having a perspective and what you look at and what you focus on, they all interconnect. It's our consciousness. Our consciousness is what we say, what we think, what we feel, what we perceive or believe, and then what we do, how we act, how we behave. And from that perspective, when we understand that I'm feeling resistance about, and it doesn't matter what the subject is, on any given subject in our third dimensional world, right, on planet Earth, if it's money, a relationship, in so many different roles or relationships that we have, whether it's a boss to an employee, or mother to a father, a mother and a father, co-parenting, right, a mother to a son, whatever the forms of the relationship, all of those have its own energy connection. So, for example, you could have two children, and you could have two boys, or like I do, or you could have two girls, or you could have a boy and a girl, or the energetic connection that you have to each one is up to you. And they can be different. So for myself, I know that I'm a different type of parent with one than I am to the other, because they're different children. And so it requires a different level of patience with one that I don't necessarily have to have with the other one on a certain topic. Right? So you might notice that one child could be easy in maybe the eating or in food, right? Where the other one could be easy when it comes to sleeping or putting them down for bed or getting a full night's rest or getting up in the morning or, whatever the sleep patterns are. Every subject that it is really a matrix. Every subject that's in our environment, we have an energetic connection to. Everything is energy. All energy carries a vibration. That vibration goes out into the universe and collects more of it the same. So when we are looking at our life and going, well, I don't necessarily prefer that, or I'm pushing against this, that's not allowing. When you are allowing, you feel good. Allowing means alignment. It means the flow of, the feel good, the expansiveness. That's what allowing feels like. And it is the hardest law, I would say, of all the 7 laws that I talk about. It is the one that most people have a most difficult time understanding. And so that's why I like to break this down, because when you become a deliberate creator and you're deliberately manifesting your life, right? And we're so used to forcing or making or trying. There's a lot of effort in making things happen, or we want to control. We want to go outside and manipulate or control what's out here so that we feel better in here. And so there's a lot that goes into this particular universal law, including the law of detachment, which we will be discussing in other shows as they're coming up. However, I'll say that the law of allowing is having just complete surrender. In the book, The Desire Factor, the council and I talked about how there is a sense of and a time to surrender, not to give up, not to release your power. A lot of times we think surrender is just, okay, I'm giving up. I'm going to throw in the towel or wave the white flag. And that's not what surrender is at all. It's, what am I holding on to? And am I willing to let it go in this now moment? This thought that I'm thinking, am I willing to just let that thought go and pick up a different thought? Am I willing to let go of this feeling I'm having, whether it's fear or doubt or irritation? Am I going to allow that energy to release? Am I going to surrender? Do I allow myself to surrender? So for me, law of allowing has to do with every aspect of our lives, but I like to think of it as the major relationships. So the first major relationship is between us and life. That's a relationship that a lot of people have dysfunction with. And when we are allowing life, it's like allowing in your breath, allowing in the feeling of feeling good. So many times, and I talked about this in my book, The Art of Having It All, we have an allowing meter. And we only allow ourselves to go to a certain level of success before we start blocking ourselves or, sabotaging ourselves, or, things start to come in where we're doing really good. And then boom, it's like having an air conditioning or a heater, right? The thermometer that you have it set between a range. There's a range that we feel comfortable in going to, and there's a range that we don't feel comfortable going to. And we live within that range, within that certain allowance. And when we are allowing in more of our light, more of our divine connection, more of this pure potentiality of energy, pure potentiality is another one of the 7 essential laws, which I'll be talking about in a couple weeks, in next couple episodes. We have this pure potentiality, which is divine life. It's the breath that we're breathing. It's what we're partnering with. It's what actually is animating our minds and allowing you all to hear, allowing me to speak. There's an energy exchange. That's life. But we get at certain points in our life where we resist life. So checking in with yourself, do you allow in life? What's your relationship with the understanding of life? I got to say, pretty much the first 27 years of my life, well, probably not the first few. I think I was probably kind of happy and when I wasn't bounded and all that. But the good majority, let's say 20 years of my life, at least, I was in a boxing ring with God. I was going to say, I was going to be the persecutor for every job that God did. Nah, that's okay. That's not all right. Well, that person, it was like, I was just going to, I'm not impressed. Show me something better. It was like, I'm higher than, or just was angry at this thing called life because of the pain points that I had when I felt or decided that life let me down. And so that's a relationship that I've had to heal, the very connector to my own life, to whether you call it the divine or the universe or energy, Sally Sue, it's the one that is partnering with us. So that's the first one. What is our allowance of that connection to that which is breathing us, and that which is, and we are an individualized expression of. And the second is how you are with yourself. This is a big one, especially for women, because if we are judging ourselves, we're not allowing. If we're criticizing ourselves, or anybody else for that matter, if we're judging somebody else, criticizing somebody else, we're not allowing. Because that allowance, that good feeling, that flow of energy pushes against that. Because that type of way of thinking or believing or behaving of jealousy, envy, competition, one up, one down, comparison, procrastination, you know, some of these really fun human things that we do, right? Complaining, it's a big one. Envy, jealousy, all of that. That is not in a place of allowance, because it's not where that light that's breathing us, that we're connected to, that life force, it doesn't go there. So when we are judging, we are not in allowance. Even when someone's pushing against something, they're not in a place of allowance. And then it's not about the other person. When we're pushing against something, we're not allowing, we don't feel good. We're not in alignment. And then the energy that we send out isn't very creative, or if it is creative, it's drawing to us what we don't want instead of drawing to us what we do want. Instead, we repel away the things that we don't want. So allowance is a big thing. And this was a big one for me to get years ago, because it's like, I have to start paying attention to how I feel. And that's a big thing for women, to understand, how do I feel about myself, about my life, about circumstances, and understanding then that we are the ones that choose how we feel. To get to that place where something happens and you have some kind of stimulus or something, news comes to you, or you hear of a betrayal, or, you know, someone ignores you entirely, or something happens, and we have a moment in time to choose how I'm going to feel about it. If we're in our pain body, we're reactive and we don't have a choice in how we feel about it. If we've been stuffing down our emotions, I did that for a long time, by trying to smoke it away, or drink it away, or eat it away, or, you know, sex it away, or whatever, like push it down so I don't have to feel those negative feelings. But once you start to allow yourself to feel yourself, those negative feelings that have been being pushed down, which are the opposite of allowing, when we start to allow ourselves to be with ourselves and feel ourselves and know how to, and we'll be talking about that in future shows here, I'm sure. I have tons of information on that on my website, christywhitman.com. When we allow ourselves to feel the energy and don't tie it to a story or an emotion, we allow ourselves to just feel it, then we're free of it. Totally free of it. Yesterday, I was in a situation, I was at the Pilates studio, and my dear friend who started this Pilates studio with my coaching and talking about manifestation and exact same thing. She had an opportunity. I said to her, this is a couple of years ago, during lockdown, right? Gyms were closed. I would go to her house and do Pilates. And I said to her, why don't you ever open your own place? And she goes, oh, well, I thought about it, but oh. And I said, what's the fear about? And she just stopped and for the first time thought about it. Well, what if I wouldn't have any clients? And we just started talking about it. Well, I would go with you. I go wherever you go. And she had another client that was coming around that I bet Mark would go with you. She goes, well, I know that person, that. And she started listing at least 50 clients that would totally go with her, who love her and that have been going with her for years. And she started feeling like, wait a minute. And one of my clients has a spot and she started dreaming and thinking that would be beautiful. I'm going to meet with him after. He's also come into the house to do. So like the creation process started because the initial, have you ever thought of? And she went, no, that's the resistance. She wasn't allowing even that picture or that possibility or that opportunity to come in because the fear, the reaction of that fear came up first and informed her, you can't do that. And when she just sat with it and said, well, what is that fear about? All of the things that where the fear came up. So she ended up opening up a studio. And she opened it up in October. And in Arizona, where we live, in summer, people fly the coop, right? They're called snowbirds, right? They go back to the nicer places where it's not 100 and 125 degrees. And so she said, uh-oh, nothing even happened yet. She was like, uh-oh, the fear of what if in the summer, all of my clients leave? And this fear came up. And I said, well, let's talk about that. I don't leave in the summer. I'm here. Look at Mark. He's here in the summer. And then she started thinking about just like letting the fear dissipate, letting herself allow. And she's, oh yeah, they stay here and they stay here. Wow, I could be really busy the whole summer. And she was. She just celebrated 2 years in business and now is going to be expanding even more in March. Incredible. She allowed herself to feel the fear, to be with it, having no attachment to the stories of it, but to just feel the energy and let it release. Because the law of allowing is having no attachments to anything, what you want to create or what you want to manifest energetically. Let me say that again, because I have a friend, a New York Times bestselling author. Her name's Peggy McCall. She has a book called Be a Dog with a Bone. Have you ever seen a dog with a bone? My dog, as sweet as he gets a bone. He is not nice. So we can't give him those meaty bones because he gets like, I mean, he is into that bone. This is his bone. He's focused, right? So law of allowing is like that. Be focused. Be focused. Have your desires, have your vision focused on what you want. But don't be so rigid like the dog, right? But yet focus like the dog. And you need to attach to the focus of what you want, a vision of what you want. And you want to live in that dream home. You want to start your business. You want to make impact in the world. You want to increase your level of income. You want to get that promotion. Whatever, you want to start a family. You want to have a child. You want to have another child. You want to, whatever it is for you, keep the vision. Keep that vision, but relax about the vision. There's the detachment, because if you feel like anxious about it, like, oh my God, it has to happen, you're not detached. I had a client years ago who was working with the council, and she was saying to me, you know, I've been visualizing my partner. I know what he looks like, what we're going to do together. I mean, she'd had everything to a T planned out, and it was very, very super specific. And I know what I'm going to feel like, and I know how many kids we're going to have. And she could describe the vision. Absolutely. She's scripted it in her head so many times. And she's like, where is he? I've been waiting forever. That's not detachment. So in that space of where is he, that space of anxiety, when there is negative emotions or lack always feels bad. And lack, we're going to get into that into the episode. We're going to talk about the law of sufficiency and abundance, because that is the law that will tie it all together. It makes all of everything like puzzle pieces just align and fit together. And when you are in lack, you feel bad. Emotions such as worry, fear, doubt, irritation, frustration, resentment, hurt. Of course, the feeling sense of anxiety, which is an overamplification of fear or doubt. It's an overamplification of an emotion that hasn't been expressed. So that's why some people feel anxiety. Not that there's anything wrong with you, and you don't need to go take anything. You need to take your attention inward and feel the vibration, because our emotions get so high. And if we do not tend to them, we feel anxious. And if we still do not tend to them, maybe we suppress them, it then starts to come out, because energy cannot be contained. It comes out in the physical body until we pay attention to it. And then we allow that energy to go about. When you are visualizing something and you are wanting to create something, you want to be aligned. You want to feel like you're moving in the direction, right? You still have your vision and your goal, because it's an important part of deliberate creating, right? You are in a space that you feel good about where you are. You're content. You're not feeling bad. You're not in lack, because lack pushes all away. And that's what we were telling that client. You've got the vision perfectly done. You can feel yourself walking on that beach with them, but then your attention goes to the reality. And instead of letting yourself feel that compassion of like, oh, you know, I've waited a long time, but you know what? I know that the universe has my back. The order has been made. The minute you go into lack, where is he? I've been waiting forever. And you invoke that resistance. Well, the resistance is inside of us. So if we feel the resistance, if we feel with that imprint of it's taking too long, that's a decision. This is my timing. That's a thought. So even changing that lack thought to a thought of the timing is going to be perfect when I meet my ideal partner. Right now, I let myself feel compassion because I think it's perfect timing, but let myself feel compassion for having to have waited and get back and excited, because the 7 steps in the desire factor is about alignment and focusing on what you want, joyfully expecting it, because when you are joyfully expecting it, you are allowing. And there's no tension. It's relaxed. You feel good about it. You stay focused on your goal, but detached from the outcome. One of my favorite analogies is one of my earliest teachers. Some of you might know them, Abraham Hicks. They also are channeled information, inspiration. And the analogy that Abraham Hicks uses is that it's like going to the edge of a very fast moving stream, and you take your canoe, right? But you put your canoe and you in the water, and instead of going with the flow, you take your oars and you're trying to paddle upstream. You think, why would anybody do that? Right? Why would anybody try to take your canoe and go, if you ever gone on an escalator and you ever tried to go the opposite way, right? It's very confusing, and it's not the way it's supposed to go. It doesn't flow that way. Well, putting your canoe in a fast moving stream and trying to paddle the wrong way, that's resistance. That's what resistance feels like. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of effort. It's exhausting, and nothing you want is upstream. Promise you that. Nothing that we're pushing against is upstream. But if we just put in the oars, let the boat naturally turn itself around, let light come in, let yourself continue to feel either compassion or connection, gratitude. We talked about that in the last episode. Write down what you want and give gratitude for what you have now, and give gratitude for what is coming. That is taking in the oars, and that boat is going now downstream. That's the feeling of going with the flow. And if you bump up against anything that's resisting, just understand you just got to let go, surrender, because you're not in a space of allowing. Even if you bump up against a perspective, this is not, why is it, this is so stressful? Even if you change the perspective to, this may not be easy, what I'm going through right now, but I've always made it on the other end. I am resilient. I know that I am persistent. I know that I have what it takes. I know that I like the phoenix firebird rising from the ashes. I know what it takes to create. And when I do with my divine, and I allow that energy, I feel good. And because I feel good, I attract more. Gratitude will get you into that spot. So the action item for this week is to feel gratitude about everything you have. Just say thank you as an affirmation, doing everything to your body. Thank you. To the people that you love, to the divine, to a sunset, to a hummingbird, to friends that you have. Just being in a space of gratitude. As we move into more gratitude, we have so much more to be grateful for. So list the ways you're grateful, and list why you're grateful, and list all the things and say gratitude for what is coming ahead.